Welcome to Fantastic Tones for Human Bones. I am Robert Woodsledew. My co-host Mark Biscucci Clifford is here.
Hello.
Today we have the pleasure of speaking with Alex Wand.
Hello.
Alex, you go by the name Rufus Dumont on many different locations on the
That's
internet.
true. Yes, that's one of several aliases that I have.
Yes. You are a songwriter of you're a tremendous songwriter. You're a composer.
Thank you.
You're a performer. And clearly you have some software development skills as well.
I don't myself, but I collaborate with a lot of coders, software developers. My brother is a coder, and then I have a few friends. So for all that kind of software stuff, I collaborate with other people.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Are you currently in Santa Cruz right now?
I'm actually in Detroit, Michigan, visiting my family.
Oh, wow. Okay. Thank you for making the time. Appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I wish I had known that. We could have started perhaps earlier, but...
Oh, that's fine. I'm still kind of on East or West Coast time anyway.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So I obviously I first came to know you through the website Song a Day for a month.com. songadayforamonth.com, otherwise known as SadFam. So I'm curious. I wanted to ask you about that. When did you create SadFam? When was that?
In 2014. Our first session was January 2014.
Okay.
8 years ago now.
Only 8 years ago. So you have... Yeah. I haven't checked today, but it was like 620 something last I checked. Songs on there, which means that you've been very active.
Yeah, I heard
day.
on another podcast where you did a brief interview that you haven't missed a day since it started. Is that right?
That's true. I still haven't missed a day. Wow. So we do session. So in January of 2014, we did it for a month, Song a Day for a month. We wrote a song every day for the month of January. And we were initially thinking of making it just an annual month. Every January we do it. But then we didn't want to wait that long. We didn't want to wait a whole year to do it again. So we started doing it in July. So ever since 2014, we've had these biannual sessions. So for the months of January and July, I haven't missed a single day I haven't missed a single day yet.
Including the bonus April one a couple years ago?
Right, we've had a few like bonus ones. I did all the days for the April one. That was a really fun one. That was right when coronavirus started.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure the participation was just out of control.
It was our biggest month by far. Yeah. It was like 90 people did it.
Whoa.
Yeah,
that was my first one that I did.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I did a January after that, but I had a really, really productive 5 days, and then it went away, but I still love the songs that I made. So one day I'm going to do the whole month. I'm very excited about that.
So wait, can we back up? Can you talk about why you made SadFam and what led you to make it?
Well, at the time I was reading about Woody Guthrie. I was really, really getting into him. I was learning a bunch of Woody Guthrie tunes with my band 3/3 at the time. And I came across his Columbia River Ballads, this collection of songs that he wrote in the early 1940s. He got commissioned by the U.S. government to go up to the Pacific Northwest to write songs about the dams and the rivers up there. And
that's amazing.
Yeah, so that was he had this U.S. government creative residency, and it was a month long. And in that month, he wrote 26 songs. And I was always kind of blown away at how prolific Woody Guthrie was in his songwriting.
Yeah.
But that particular, residency he had inspired me to try to do something similar. So I thought, okay, that's like basically a song a day for a month, what he did. And so I was like, Paul, my brother, Paul, like, Paul, can you whip up a website where people can just post songs and let's give this a shot? And so it was really informal. It just kind of, I emailed like 20 of my friends and said, hey, do you guys want to do this with me? And that's how it started.
That's amazing.
So you didn't want to like try it as a personal experiment first. You went straight to like, let's make it a party.
Yeah, that's kind of part of the excitement of it. I think if I did it alone, there'd be something missing. There's something about like the accountability to each other that was exciting to me. I guess that was a separate from the Woody Guthrie because he did it alone.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the kind of communal aspect of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've made it into like it's such an amazing. I always describe it as like it's like a website, a community, and a challenge. Like it's a 3-part thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because the community is such a strong part of it. Like everyone is very supportive. Everyone is like listening to each other's stuff, which is honestly amazing. Like I barely when I'm in there doing it for a month, like I don't really have time to like really listen to everyone else's stuff, but a lot of people are doing that, which is it's amazing. It's really cool.
Yeah, and it's also a platform for people to like pursue single ideas. There's like some reed players that have been on there that I've been really blown away with their work, including Steve Adams was doing some like, hey, I'm just going to use this to basically test these out. My wife was doing a little bit of that with a cello quartet she was writing. And and then you see like I have many friends, but Bob especially though, like who come out at the end with like basically incredible albums of music, and if not that, there's just like huge swaths of material. And part of my favorite part about it is I go on there all the time and just listen, whether or not I'm contributing. It's always fun.
Oh, that's so great
to see people
hear.
popping things up like that. It's so cool.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, like over the 8 years since you started, has your perspective shifted at all, or like what have you seen over the course of the 8 years for this project?
I've seen the community morph in really interesting ways over time. The people who did it the first session are not, well, maybe a few of the people who did it the first session are still doing it, but it's been this slow morphing where every new session there's new people who I don't know who are kind of friends of friends, and they get really excited about it. And then it kind of goes in phases where people feel like, oh, this is what I want in my life, and so they get really into it, and they really dedicate the whole month. But then after a little bit, I think a lot of people like taking extended breaks from it and then returning to it. So I'm noticing some people who are like original Song a Day people kind of coming back to it.
Interesting.
So it's this really fluid community, and people are always kind of popping in and out of it, which I like. it's really exciting to have the continuity of the people who have been doing it for so long. But it's also so exciting to get to know new people who just jump in. And yeah, it's definitely started as a kind of a CalArts thing, because most of my friends were, CalArtians when I was living in LA.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's really expanded beyond that now, which is fun.
Yeah, it's very cool. Seems like it's quite a phenomena. When were you at CalArts, just out of curiosity?
2010 to 12.
So did y'all cross paths?
No, we were just talking about this. So Robert, you were in 2006 to 8?
Yes,
we missed?
I think, yeah.
Yeah, we missed each other.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So many amazing people from that scene and community in general, but
yeah.
Do you have any well, I guess let me ask you this. For your personal participation in Song of a Day, like how was it the first time you did it, and how is it now, and how has that changed, I guess?
Oh yeah. So the first time was really hard. It was because I remember the first day I spent like 8 hours trying to write a song, and I didn't really even like it. And I was like, wow, is this what the whole month is going to be like?
yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah. And yeah, since then, but of course I surprised myself, and I wrote a lot. Even that first month, I wrote a lot of stuff I was excited about, and that turned out a lot of the music I wrote that first month turned into songs in albums I released in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And so I definitely, so the first day was kind of, I got in the swing of it after a while. But it was still like by the end, I really felt like, wow, that was such an intense experience. Now I've been doing it for so long. I feel like I've learned how to kind of work it into my daily life in a little more seamless way, where I don't spend as much time as I maybe did in the beginning, but I sort of learned certain things about like what time of the day am I most creative, and just do the music then. And then kind of like learning my own creative rhythm throughout the day and kind of working with that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that's been a really great learning thing for me to learn that about myself,
Yeah.
I think I would like to approach it again with more of a constraint, because in my studio, it's not everything is set up all the time. So I'd be dragging the mics, miking up the kit. It doesn't stay set up, writing something, whatever that may be. It could be a complex form, but then putting mics on the vibes, on the piano, on the organ, maybe singing something, maybe writing lyrics. And it's just like, okay, if I can focus on one instrument and one idea, I think I personally would be more successful. But like, if you get something wired in where you are at all times, maybe you have a better workflow. But for you, do you, how much time do you feel like you put into the actual songwriting versus the production? And is that a challenge for you at all to make time for that?
Oh, yeah. I put more time into the songwriting lately, just because I've been doing really simple production setups where I would just set up 2 mics and just play it live. Sometimes I've gotten into, I've been doing this for years. Mike, I have this cassette player, cassette recorder that I love the sound of. and that I use, which is just one mic, boom, record it, one take.
Yeah.
And so, but the practicing, the kind of getting the song down, that's what I spend more time on. Although, there's some exceptions to that too, where I'll have fun and I'll go into a producing wormhole, which is really fun too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had a really, really fascinating description of what you were calling chasing the song in your Carlos in LA. It was the first episode in that podcast, which I want to talk extensively about. But there's this one moment that was just beautiful where you talk about what it was like for you personally at that time. I'm sure it changes over time, but like chasing the song, and then like you described how a gentleman next to you at a metro was singing something, and that and that like brought something to you. And then I think what you played after that was like, some interesting production. I think you had like a Kissing My Love break in there, and you know what I mean? I think it was that song, but it was cool. And then the songs within there, that whole world, are all over the map too, in terms of instrumentation and style and all that. But yeah, that one description, I encourage everyone listening to listen to Carlos in LA. It's amazing. And we can get into that, but we should. I'm curious more about Sad Fam.
Yeah, actually, that episode of Carlos in LA, I was recording that. It was during a Sad Fam month.
Yeah.
So it was, as you could probably tell, because it's me on my phone and I'm walking around the streets of LA just recording ideas.
Yeah.
Which is like a very song a day thing to do, to always be just like recording voice memos. Oh, here's an idea. And so that was one where I was just freestyle. I was just talking without even thinking about it. And then somehow this sort of free write talking into the voice memos turned into this story that turned into that whole podcast episode, which is like, the Willie Mays catching a ball. Can you catch?
Yeah.
Using the Willie Mays metaphor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that does bring up another question that I have about your songwriting process, and it does have to do with recording. How often are you recording, like in terms of voice memos or field devices? Are you often recording things around you?
Yes, yes. I record, especially when I was really actively doing Carlos in LA. I was recording everything. I was just always recording. People, my friends were like, "Are you recording this right now?"
Yeah. Yeah, and like restaurants and everything, because it's like every little anecdote you had.
I had it documented. The funniest one was when I just happened to be recording, just riding my bike, up the hill to my place, and my chain broke. It was
that's right.
I felt that. I was going to a rehearsal one time where I was riding up a hill to meet up with like Sam Osbavat and Aram Shelton. Chain broke as I was pushing down really hard, and I went down. Boom! I just went straight down, and I showed up to rehearsal like just bloody. Everywhere.
Oh my god!
It was crazy.
Were you recording that?
No, but I'll probably start. Get like one of these tiny little Zoom things, but
get a Talk Boy.
FX Plus. Yeah.
Is that
I can do all the production on there.
From Home Alone too, right?
Oh yeah. Nice.
I'm the father.
Yeah.
Major credit card.
Yeah.
So I'm curious how you think about writing songs, I guess. Like especially pre Song a Day and perhaps post Song a Day, like what cuz some people have a really like very like critical thinking approach to songwriting, and some people like are just waiting for inspiration to strike. Mm-hmm. And I'm curious how you think about it, and what's your if you're going to write a song, how does it become to be a certain genre? Like how does the idea form for you, and how do you realize it?
Yeah. Well, I've been working, well, it depends on the day, but I definitely have certain ways of writing songs that I come back to. And one of them is starting with a poem or a text and letting that be the kind of guide for the song, for the form of the song and the shape of the melody. So I love setting poetry and text to music, and I've done that with a lot of different projects. I did the 81 Dao songs setting of the Dao De Jing, and then more recently I've been working on the Santa Cruz Mountain Poems, which is that's the name of a book of poems by Morton Marcus, this poet from the 70s, or he wrote this book in the 70s about Santa Cruz, which is where I live now. So I've been setting that to music and just having that be this source of inspiration for the music, and thinking about how the music can be in dialogue with the meaning of the text. And that's a really fun challenge. And it's just nice to have that as a starting point to say, okay, no, it's not really a blank slate. It's like, wow, I have this amazing starting point for a piece of music. And so, yeah, that's one way I really like. And it's really fun because you come up with forms and melodies that you probably would not otherwise come up with, because there's a sort, maybe poems are not, usually in a very clear rhyme scheme, or there's not a certain, they're not very square like lyrics can be,
Yeah.
So that's really exciting, so that leads me to compose music that is a little freer form, which is fun. So that's one way I've been doing it.
Well, the other thing too is you're not worried about whether or not your lyrics are just, failing. They're already, we've all agreed that these are a beautiful thing that you're starting with, So that's nice for a start,
Yeah. But I also love writing lyrics too. There was one last July, a year ago, a little over a year ago, there was one 10-day streak where I was writing songs with lyrics, original lyrics that had this cohesive narrative about the imaginary town of Moses. That's what the name of the album I hope will be.
That's what you played at Clay Chaplin's house? Those
Yeah.
songs?
Yeah.
I checked that out. Those were great.
Yeah, that was cool.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I played we played those songs right after I wrote them, like a month after we played a set on Clay and Heather's podcast.
Listening to that made me want to learn the dobro.
Oh, I know.
The sound of, it was just two of you playing, right?
Yeah.
Really, really cool. Just music sounded super cool.
What is the name of that podcast? I don't remember.
Casa Berenice Recordings.
Casa Berenice, that's right.
Yeah.
And I believe yours is the most recent, as of now, the most recently posted episode. I might be wrong.
Yeah, they just posted it.
Okay. So you did that like a year ago and it just released now?
Yeah, yeah, it was just released, but yeah, I did it. I think the show, it was a live show.
Yeah.
It was in August of 2021. Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
So you don't, do you less often write your own lyrics and more often set poetry?
Yeah, lately I have been. But who knows? That may change. I really enjoy writing lyrics too. So
Yeah. What about back in the day?
back in the day, I wrote my own lyrics mostly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a kind of a composerly thing to set poetry to music. I mean, there's a whole lineage of that and with song cycles with Schumann and Schubert and all that. So, I've been a little bit more into the composer mindset than the singer-songwriter mindset.
Yeah.
Not, but of course they're always fluid and it's not. I don't think of one song being that identity versus the other, but
I mean, it's safe to say that you definitely straddle the line there. Like, if there is one, like, because, yeah, like listening to something like, for example, your 81 Tao songs, like, and just looking at the notation here, because some of the notations is like pretty unusual and interesting, like, and the way that you're approaching a lot of this stuff is very, it's composerly in a sense, but like at the same time, it's like you are kind of writing songs. It's really on the line a lot of times, I think.
Yeah.
That's my assessment.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
You had an interesting. You talked about like just seeing like there being a thread, and maybe seeing that through, and just like both Bob and I have composed music that spans everything, and describing the music that we make is always difficult. Well, I'm speaking for myself. Describing the music that I make is very often difficult for me in terms of just like a genre or something like that, and it can come from anywhere, but it is still coming through you at some point, no matter what you're tackling at the moment. If there's like a compositional technique, one that you're learning about or that you have learned about that you've decided to employ, I still feel like the music is going to be you ultimately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really fascinating thing that you had brought up, because I've thought about that from time to time, but like it's cool to have it distilled a little bit. And then I do have a question. Are you currently studying with Larry Polanski?
Well, Larry Polanski retired from UCSC, which is where I go.
I didn't realize that. Okay.
But we keep in touch, and he's an absolute inspiration of mine. I've known him for years. I invited him to do a performance in LA. I was curating this Microfest concert, which is a microtonal music festival in Los Angeles. And I invited him to come down and do a performance. And we performed together on one piece.
Yeah.
And while we were performing, an earthquake happened.
What?
And it's actually on YouTube. So there's a YouTube video. The video was on a tripod, so the tripod started shaking.
Oh my gosh!
I didn't even know it was happening. Anyway,
wow,
that's a tangent. But yes, Larry Polanski. I'm not officially studying with him, but he's definitely an inspiration.
So, but you are in school right now at UC Santa Cruz?
Yeah, I'm doing a doctorate there, and it's a DMA, so doctorate in musical arts in music composition.
Cool.
Nice.
Is Giacomo Fiore down there? Is he active there down there right now doing a microtonal guitar stuff?
Yeah. He teaches the Beatles class, this big lecture class.
Awesome.
At UCSC. And he graduated before I got there, but I've also known him for several years because I've known him in the microtonal guitar world for several years. And And yeah, I see him every now and then. He organizes concerts as well at the Center for New Music, I think, in the Bay Area.
Yeah, we play there.
Oh, you do? Oh,
Fair
cool.
amount. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, he has a record of microtonal guitar music that I really like a lot. It's like a green and white one with like stripes on it, like American guitar music or something like that. But
oh, cool, like Lou Harrison stuff and
Polanski for sure, and then
Polanski stuff, yeah,
and then some stuff that like a friend of ours from the conservatory out here wrote, and it's just a beautiful record to just put on and have on, like one of my favorite house records, you know.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
He did something with Catherine Lamb. Catherine Lamb is microtonal composer, string player
from Cats.
And Giacomo he played the national steel guitar. It's a guitar that was designed by Lou Harrison, and it's in just intonation. It's a just intonation guitar, and it was I don't remember. We'll have to look up the name of the album, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sorry to derail so much, but I'm just fascinated. I go down there sometimes and get to play here and there, and it just seems like a really good community of people who are working on music down there anytime that I'm over there in Santa Cruz. I mean,
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I'm curious about, like, if you check out your website and some of the stuff that you sent to us, there's these works like the 81 Tau songs, the like Dance of the Planets. You've got, there's the stuff that's on your Bandcamp, but I don't really understand the order that all of this was created in.
Yeah. Well, the 81 Tao songs I've been working on for years. Probably since 2016 or something. But it was only until it was when the pandemic happened that became the project I really focused on, and I wrote a lot of the songs in the past 2 years. But it started back in 2015, maybe 2015, 16. So
were those done in order?
No, they were not.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how did you? Let's talk about that, because so you went on a tour, it says, to China, or where did you go?
Yeah, so I went on a tour with the poet Wang Ping, who's a Chinese poet, and she taught poetry for many years at Macalester College in Minneapolis. And we met at a residency in Nebraska, and we just really hit it off, and we just became creative partners. And she asked me to go to China with her on this tour that she organized, and the project was called Kinship of Rivers, and it was the idea was to create connections between the Mississippi River and the Yangtze River. And she collected all these prayer flags that different kids, groups, she would go to elementary schools and all these kids would make these prayer flags, and that was on the Mississippi River, and she brought them to China, and we hung them in different areas in China, and had more workshops where people were making these flags. And we also did these performances where I played guitar and she recited poetry. So it was this really not your typical musical tour through China.
Yeah. Where all in China did you go?
We started in Shanghai and we took all these trains. We went to Chongqing, we went to Xining, and we kind of made our way to the western part of China all the way to Tibet.
Mm-hmm.
So we went to Lhasa, the capital of Tibet. We actually we had a performance in Lhasa, but it was canceled by the police because they didn't know, that of course there's a lot of like political tension there with tourists. There's a lot of restrictions tourists have there. There's the police or the government is sort of reluctant to have tourists there, it seems like. So they didn't know who we were, so they canceled our...
Oh, that's a bummer. I spent some time in Southwest China. We were like Dali and Lijiang and Laoshihai, but we couldn't get up into Tibet, even though it was not terribly far of a drive for that same reason,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's okay. Cool.
Yeah. So the connection there with the 81 Dao songs is Wang Ping introduced me to the Dao De Jing, and it really stuck with me. That text really resonated with me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was partly that trip and just being there in those places, going through some of the like Taoist mountains, that have that history.
Sorry, just curious. What does that mean exactly? Taoist mountains? Like
Dao. So there are certain sacred mountains in China that the Taoists deem to be sacred, and there's temples at the top of the mountains, and and actually, well, yeah. So, but other forms of, like in Tibet, it was more like Tibetan. The mountains had the prayer flags on them, which is a typical thing in Tibetan Buddhism.
Mm-hmm.
So there's sort of the energy of the mountains there really had an impact on me. But yeah, after doing that trip, I really kind of sat with that text, the Tao Te Ching, and just started setting it to music without. I don't know if I initially intended on setting the whole thing to music, but after a certain point, I thought, oh, wow, I should go all the way out. I should go all the way and set the whole thing to music. Oh, yeah, I'm remembering now. Wang Ping's mother was a musician, and we met her, and she was setting the Dao to music in Mandarin. So that was a kind of a inspiration point too. And then as I was setting the music in English, Ping was really encouraging, and she kind of gave me some feedback, and so yeah, it was kind of, that project grew out of my friendship with Wang Ping, definitely.
I had teachers early on who encouraged me to use the Tao Te Ching as like almost a musical just way to keep yourself out of your head when you're like becoming, like early on in college when you have to practice a whole lot. They would often encourage their students to read it.
Oh, cool.
As a counterbalance. And I've always associated it with musical practice and the healthier experiences that I've had with it, and just like taking some time, reading one or two here and there, thinking about how that might affect your day or affect your mindset for the day, and then moving on, So I think it's really cool that you're setting all of them, because they've been such like a beautiful influence for me, just musically, just in terms of practice, not compositionally, but they've been very, very important.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I definitely resonate with what you're saying about like the daily, like thinking about how it affects your day.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, working on them during Song a Day, it was perfect because, they're concise poems, 1 page, maybe 2 pages, perfect for a thing to contemplate that day,
Yeah.
right? So, yeah, they really fit within the scope of a day in a nice way.
Yeah. To me, it's a great way to center intention and give a little bit more perspective to everything that's going on. If things are feeling a little wild,
Yeah.
So how did you started doing it, but you didn't do it in order? How did you select one to do? If that
Kind of randomly. I would, how to, well, the I Ching is another ancient Chinese text, and that is what John Cage used to, randomize, add certain parameters of indeterminacy in his music, right?
Yeah.
And that's how it was. The I Ching was often consulted through a random process, flipping coins, or, they used to, I think back in the day, they used yarrow straws somehow to randomly get to one of the pages of the I Ching, right? So there's a kind of indeterminacy that's like the more ancient text than the Tao Te Ching. So I thought, I'll just use that in a sense, like that spirit of just like randomly flipping to a page and seeing what shows up and going with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
But then after a while, once I was approaching like all right, I've written most of them, then I had to kind of go back and figure out like, all right, which ones haven't I done?
Right.
And then at that point, I kind of just went for going, just finished them.
Yeah. You have to round it up.
Yeah.
So as you were doing this, like, are there any that really stand out for you in particular?
Oh yeah, in terms of how, just the meaning of the text.
Or your song that you made.
Yeah. Well, there's one during the pandemic that was really, really a great challenge to work on. It's the first one. It's Tao verse 1. And it was a commission, actually. The Parch Ensemble, this ensemble that plays the music of Harry Parch that I'm a member of. They had this concert idea to write new music, to have composers, 5 or 6 composers, get commissioned to write new music for a selection of these Parch instruments, these instruments that Harry Parch invented for his music. So I was one of those composers that got asked to write a piece for the Parch Ensemble. So
this is the piece?
And so this is the piece, Tao verse 1 was that piece that I came up with, and it features one of Harry Parch's adapted guitars, his one of his microtonal guitars with frets that are really not straight.
Yeah.
And yeah, so really weirdly fretted guitar, and then it also features this. Go ahead.
I'm just curious. Are that tuning for that guitar? Is it steady in any way, or is it consistent in any way, or is it actually inconsistent?
It's just major thirds, 3 major thirds, 3 pure major thirds. Oh. But are you asking, is the scale consistent?
Yeah.
So I don't think Harry Parch really thought in terms of scale in his music, because he really explored all sorts of intervals within one piece. But he did have what was his limitation was this 43 note to the octave scale, that all of his music is within that domain of those 43 notes, compared to, the 12 notes of the piano. He had 43 notes per octave. So they're all within. So the guitar that I used is a subset of those 43 notes, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
When you say subset, it's just like a selection of those?
Yes, a selection of
the 43 division?
Yeah, it's not all of the 43 notes.
Okay.
If you play one note on the guitar, it will be in theory in tune with one of those notes from that scale.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, the one he uses for the root of all his whole 43 note system is G. So that is the sort of root out of which all of the other notes emerge or are derived from G, the harmonic series of G.
Is that what the diamond marimba and the bamboo marimba are all based on? It's like that, that being the root?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, the diamond marimba has this one row that is all G notes.
Is that the middle row? And
yes,
then does
the
it
middle
go out
row.
like a kalimba from there?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's
that must be fun to play. Have you played that?
Yeah, I borrowed it for several months actually, because I wrote a little. I got to borrow it because I wrote some music for it for this animation.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I got to play around with it.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. Awesome. You can do things on that marimba that you can't even. So you can, at the swipe of a mallet, you can play a huge chord that would be impossible to play on the, Western marimba. So it's totally. Yeah, it's such a cool.
Yeah, and then you think about using like 4-mallet technique with that, and
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you? Well, can we play that song actually briefly?
Yeah.
The Darkness Within Darkness, the verse 1 of the Tao Te Ching.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. Heaven and earth begin in the unnamed. The named is the mother of the 10,000 things. So the unwanting soul sees what is hidden, and the ever-wanting soul sees what it wants to. These two spring from the same origin, but differ in name. This appears as darkness. Darkness within darkness, the gate to all mystery. Darkness within darkness, the gate to all mystery.
So this is a very cool piece.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Thank you.
I'm
But
curious, just as a like, there was notation for this piece, right?
Yeah.
Is there a reason that you didn't include that on the website or chose to just have the text?
Yeah, the notation was... Well, so the way I have it on the website, it's... The notation, I kind of kept it pretty simple and bare bones.
Yeah.
And I have a variety of detail in the notation. Some of it's fully notated. Some of it's like a lead sheet. Some of it's just the words, right? So I wanted that a kind of variation. I like having this one just words, just because visually on the page it's so simple. It's just like some little words and then white page. If you have the songbook. So I like having the spaciousness, and also I do have the note, like a fully notated score for this, but I don't. It only makes sense for people who play. It makes sense for like the 3 people who play the Parch instruments, because they're all very specific to the to the instruments
within the 43 division.
Right. So I think someone coming to the website would be like, huh?
That's kind of... I'm kind of curious to see it now, just because
I'll send it to you
for that reason. It's
There are
also
those
just
out
like
there.
it's such a imposing verse to like, it's such a crazy thing to start off. Like the way the Tao starts is so crazy, and the way that this ends, dark. This verse, darkness within darkness, the gates to all mystery.
Yeah.
And then this piece, like how you have it, where it's like the text is up front, and then after that, you are left to consider kind of what has passed, and like it's more meditative space.
Yeah.
Was that space with like the cloud chamber bowls, or was that a different assortment of percussion? Was that Parch specific?
There were two of them that were cloud chamber bowls. These big Pyrex bowls that Parch reused. So there were two of them that the percussionist Matt Cook, he performed that with this other instrument called the gourd tree, which is basically 12 bells hung up on a huge tree branch.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I really wanted to write for both of those sounds because they work really well together. They have this sort of, almost like inharmonicity to them that's really nice. That, bells have that kind of like, ooh, what is that note? There's a sort of ambiguity of the note there.
Yeah.
But then, of course, Parch, those notes are all within Parch's 43-note system, so they're very intentionally tuned as well. Yeah.
And for that part, like what Bob was talking about, where it does feel like, I love the way you said that, actually, Bob. You're left to meditate on what is past. I was curious how much agency was given to Matt or whoever's performing it, or were you very specific with your notation of that particular part?
That was fully notated.
Wow.
I did give Matt. I gave him leniency on the tempos, so
okay,
he could kind of. I gave him tempo suggestions, but then he could be free with his interpretation of it. But yeah, it was all notated. What the way I wrote that was, I had that instrument in my apartment for at least 7 or 8 months.
Whoa.
And I got to really get to know that instrument. And
that's so cool. I mean, what a special thing, man.
Yeah. Yeah, so I wrote that. I performed it myself at first when I wrote it. So I performed it, and then I notated my performance, and then kind of polished it and sort of refined it from there.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Wow.
That makes a lot of sense, and that's another technique for composition in songwriting.
Totally. Well, yeah, like so the initial performance was really improvisatory,
Yeah.
So that, yes, improvisation as a technique for making music is
massive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So when you said you had that instrument, do you mean the gong tree? Is that right?
It's called the gourd tree. Yeah.
Gourd tree. My bad.
They're not
Okay.
actually gourds, though.
They're not gourds.
They're bells, right?
Right, they're bells. So it's called gourd tree because in the original instrument that Parch had, he had gourds right next to the bells that resonate. They were basically resonators for the bells.
Totally.
So they amplified the low frequency of the bell.
Were they larger gourds, or would he use the size based on what the bell needed to best resonate?
Yeah, they were all different size gourds that matched the size of the bell.
The gourds are not there anymore?
They're not there. So this one. So all the instruments we play in the Parch ensemble are not original Parch instruments. They're replicas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the original ones I think are in Seattle.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So the guy who runs the Parch Ensemble, he's been slowly building a whole orchestra of these replica instruments. He's been working with different luthiers, and Parch had really detailed plans for all of his instruments, so they're pretty, I mean, I wouldn't say they're easy to make replicas of, but it's possible given all the detail that Parch,
Well, he's doing the good work. That's amazing. I'm really glad to hear that. Because I'd always heard about the Parch instruments as being like this, like, I didn't know that anyone was doing that kind of work. I thought that there was only one set of them, and it's really cool that they're becoming more accessible.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah. They're becoming 100% more accessible.
Yeah, just like marimbas in general. One for every home.
Yeah.
Yes. Soon everyone will have a microtonal Parch instrument.
And I'm going to run on that platform. You vote for me.
Got my vote. I was going to ask. Oh, yeah. So I forgot what I was going to say, actually.
One more thing came to me when we were listening to that, came to mind for me, and that was like, had to do a little bit about what we talked about with Brendan Burns, and just, the way in which, because was that piece all purely written with the 43 division system?
That piece, yeah.
Yeah. And, there is like so much, it's a really beautiful piece. And to be frank, I have like Delusions of Fury, I think it's called, at home, Delusion of the Furies or something like that.
Yeah.
Whew, that's intense. To me, that was like just intonation for a long time before I started to like get a little bit more into, that record that Giacomo put out, like, and getting more into Polanski a little bit helped quite a bit. But for a long time, I was just like, this is extremely difficult to listen to. But I just would like to reiterate that, like, you can use these systems and like create any kind of music, and it can be much more accessible and still complex, and I'm always fascinated by that, especially digging more and more into it to hear everything that can be done with it, and yeah. I need to go back to the Delusion of the Furies. I haven't listened to that in a few years, but that I do remember that being like really intense in a way.
That's such a cool piece. That's Parch's. Yeah, that is one of his biggest hits. We've never played that one yet because I don't think we have all the instruments required for that piece, but that's a really cool piece.
Yeah, I gotta check it out again. But I really liked how you used the system. I think that was.
Thank you. Yeah. I like just intonation in that way, as something that can get at certain familiar intervals, but more in tune versions of familiar intervals. Which a lot of the basis for the beginning of this piece, there's a lot of familiar intervals, like, fifths and sevenths and major thirds that are just more in tune versions of what we're used to, right? But then above that, like Argenta's singing, there's a few of the notes that are a little more complex, and they're not complex is not the right word, but they're not close versions of a piano note. They're something entirely different.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think just intonation can do both things in a really cool way.
Yeah. So when are you an official member of the Parch Ensemble?
Yeah. I've been playing with him since 2013. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Yeah, for
So
a long time.
How did you get into that?
So when I was at Cal Arts, I got it. Speaking of Brendan Burns. Okay, so Brendan Burns and I went to Cal Arts together.
Okay.
And we got into microtonal guitars the same summer.
Oh wow.
And we were like, so
Yeah.
I think it was when we came back from the summer in between between first and second year, we realized that we both got into microtonal guitar, and we're like, we have to write a piece together now. So we wrote a piece called
Yeah.
The Plane of Jars. It's a fun little piece. But
Awesome.
Yeah, I did
But-
find that on the internet
oh, you did.
on Bandcamp.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, wait, shoot. What was your question?
Oh, I was just
Just
asking
getting into
about
the
how you got
Parch
into
ensemble.
Parch. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So how my entry point was for microtonal guitar was John Schneider. This guy who, if you type in microtonal guitar Los Angeles, his name will definitely pop up, which is how I got his contact, and I reached out to him, and I just introduced myself, said I was interested, and how could I kind of if he had any suggestions for how I could maybe try a microtonal guitar. And he said, yeah, I have the prototype of the Lou Harrison National steel guitar.
Oh man.
So I started renting that guitar from John Schneider and getting to know John. And after a few years, I think one of the members of the Parch Ensemble moved away for a teaching gig somewhere. And so John thought of me because he knew I was really interested in all that stuff and that I was a guitarist. So yeah, I've been playing with them for a while now.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And you still play with them now that you're in Santa Cruz?
Yeah, we only play once a year, mostly.
Yeah.
We do these Red Cat shows every summer. So we did one this summer, and what we do is we have intensive rehearsals right before the show. So I can just come down. So what I did was I just came down from Santa Cruz for a week and a half, and we just rehearsed and did the shows. That was an intensive show because it was just a lot of rehearsal because we had a string quartet, the Del Sol string quartet play with us, and then also a group of dancers. So we rehearsed with all them.
Oh, wow.
Del Sol is amazing. I love those.
Oh yeah,
those
you know
people.
them?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome
they're great.
people. Yeah.
Oh, right, they're Bay Area people too. So you've seen them perform and stuff. Oh
Yeah.
that's awesome. Yeah, they're great to work with.
And they're flexible with they've done plenty of work with Just Intonation. They can live in that world.
Yeah, they're very comfortable in that. It seemed like I think they'd done some Ben Johnston string quartets, which if you can do that, then
Yeah, you're all set.
yeah.
Yeah.
Dang.
But their job is hard. I mean, being able to really lock into with an instrument with no frets or anything.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about because just tuning, standard repertoire as a string quartet is crazy enough. I guess in a way that's like you make decisions like how you want the fifths to feel or the thirds to feel. Are you going to tune your third up or down? So I guess in a way they are more suited to do that.
Mm-hmm. Today I was recording for my work, like this acoustic guitar thing, and I probably spent 2 hours like trying to get my guitar in tune because I had just put new strings on it, and it was just, and I was like, I was recording a very specific thing, and it was like I had to decide okay, do I want like this chord to be perfectly in tune, or do I want this chord to be better in tune? And I like went back and forth like all day I was doing that. I can't imagine dealing with like a 43 note octave. Like the 11 note octave is so much trouble.
Yeah. Well, the thing is with the guitar, it's like
it's a compromise.
The equal temperament makes it so that you're having to compromise between like, oh, I guess this chord's going to sound better.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Especially with the major third, you know, being like, you know, the major third between the G and the B is always going to just sound like crap unless you tune the major third a little flat, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that was exactly the issue I was dealing with.
Yeah. This is all very. It's a new world for me. I'd love to hang out with that marimba because like you know, I'm mainly a vibraphonist and I haven't played like a quarter tone vibraphone or anything like that before. So just imagining being able to make these kinds of decisions in mallet making is it's an exciting one, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's in addition to the diamond room, there's all sorts of other mallet instruments that Parch came up with. Like the bass marimba is a really fun one.
Mm-hmm.
And then the marimba heroica, I think it's like these extremely low marimba notes. They're like basically at the bottom range of human hearing.
Whoa.
Interesting.
And they're just huge. They sound huge.
That's awesome. Wow.
Can you maybe change gears a little bit? Can you talk about I mean you have mentioned that you work with coders. Is Dance of the Planets an example? Yes, it is an example of that, correct? Like this is like an interactive composition system that you are involved in?
Yeah, so Dance of the Planets is a solar system sonification, is what we call it. And it started out not as a coding thing. It started out as a live performance. So we played at this festival in Blue Diamond, Nevada, that one of our members organizes, Stephen Van Betten. Oh, sorry. So the group that composed it is called Desert Magic. It's this music collective that I started with Stephen Van Betten and Logan Hone.
Oh, we love Logan.
Oh,
love
really?
That dude, man. Yeah.
Amazing.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, Logan's
Do I
the
know
best.
Logan?
He opened you remember when we were having backyard concerts at my house?
Yeah.
I think he did the one that the Dirty Snacks released that first record at.
Oh.
He was playing like a banjo for that song.
Oh,
but he's a
yeah.
ridiculous alto player and just a beautiful musical thinker.
I
Love
remember.
that dude.
I remember now. Yes, that's right. Cool.
Yeah.
So he's in your band
Yeah.
or your music
So-
collective.
Yeah, so we had this we developed this kind of music installation where we made paper mache planet hats, 8 of them.
Yeah, I
One
saw pictures of those. I might put one of those up for the socials, man, if you don't mind.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we made this piece where the planet. So each of the performers were wearing one of the planet hats, and they were playing just 2 notes at a certain tempo, right? And the tempo of the note corresponded to the actual orbital speed of that planet whose hat they were wearing. So, so for example, Mercury it goes around the sun a lot faster than Jupiter, right? So Mercury was playing its two notes very fast, right? And then Jupiter is much slower. So you get this really interesting polyrhythm where two tempos are going, but it's not a polyrhythm that lines up like 3 against 4 or something. It doesn't line up in a low integer kind of way, right? It's like 100 BPM 167 compared to 2 BPM 235, right?
Yeah.
So it's these polyrhythms, planetary polyrhythms that don't quite line up with each other, but they're based on the actual so we keep it quite, we transfer miles per second to beats per minute. And we kind of keep to the actual speed of the orbit of that planet. So that ended up that's the premise of Dance of the Planets.
Real quick, anything about the note decisions, or are the notes the same? Are the planets playing the same notes, or is there any constraints for the notes that the planets play?
The
pitches,
The pitches, yeah. They're just playing fifths, but starting on a different note. Okay. So we chose, for the first installation, we chose the planets closest to the sun having higher pitches. So the inner planets having higher pitches, and then the outer planets having lower pitches.
Okay.
Now on the app, the people visiting the website or the app can actually...
danceoftheplanets.com.
Yeah. There's a web app where people can change the interval so they can hear what it sounds like with a major second or a minor third or in a different scale. So there's a little more flexibility.
Can you change who gets high and who gets low pitch material?
I don't think so. That would be cool though.
And so this is in D. If you look on the website, the score is there a reason for that?
Not really. I just tune my guitar to Dadgad a lot, so that was
right on.
So it was fun to solo too.
I truly love answers like that, where it's just like, oh yeah, a lot of the times, like,
yeah,
the easiest way to make music is the answer, but
yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, so in terms of how it morphed into an app because of our friend Luke Williams, who also he's played in Desert Magic as a bass player. And he plays on our album In the Universe. He's a good friend of all of ours. Brilliant guy. I mean, he is such a creative powerhouse. He has this Patreon where he's just like releasing stuff and making stuff every month. It's really inspiring. So he's a musician and creative coder. So we developed this app and Luke made it happen. And he made it initially in Unity, which is a program kind of like, I think people make video games with that program language. Yeah. And then he also made a web version, which is a MIDI version. So it's an app, it's a web app, and it's interactive, and it's been fun to let this project evolve over time and kind of take these different modalities. We've talked about making an album, a Dance of the Planets album.
Yeah.
Using, kind of inviting different composers to make their own piece using this web app as an instrument, kind of. Mm-hmm. Because you can get wildly different sounds. You can even route this through your own synthesizer, and
Oh, totally. Yeah.
So
run it through Juno real quick, and it's just beautiful warmth everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Wow. So Luke made it so that there was the MIDI functionality. Well, I mean, he did the iOS and the web app.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool. Very, very cool.
Yeah, and we worked pretty closely on the development of it, but he made it happen.
It's a fantastic looking site. I need to get the app though. I need to play with it.
Oh yeah.
Making an app is pretty ambitious. Honestly.
Right?
Making a web app is one thing, but then making an iOS app and an Android app.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Absolutely. That's huge.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
So when was this made?
This was made. When was it made? 2018? That's so funny. I don't even know.
So okay.
When was,
so like
I can look this up. That's the planets.
When did you move to Santa Cruz?
I moved there in 2019.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, at the end of 2019.
And you released this album on the Desert Magic Bandcamp that year, which has some of the. I guess this is all from Tao Te Ching, right?
Yeah, the right. In the universe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was in 2019. So Dance of the Planets was before that. So it was 2017-18.
Okay. Oh, there's a book of this?
Yes, there is.
Wow, that's cool. So you have a book of, just for the people that are listening, there is on the website here a book that you can buy of, although it's not, I guess you can't buy it. Or no, does it come? How do you buy this book? You have to buy the compact disc, I guess?
Yeah, let's see.
Okay.
Let me go to the Bandcamp.
It comes with a CD of music notation and text. Okay. So yeah.
Oh, yes. Sorry, yeah, you buy the CD and it's part of the whole package.
Cool.
So you get a CD and a full booklet. And the booklet's really beautifully printed and it has notation of all the songs.
Yeah, which is also, some of this is on the Tao Te Ching or the 81 Tao Songs website.
Yeah, this is like a subset of the 81 Dao songs.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm hoping to do... So the 81 Dao songs, I think of it as this really fluid collection that is... It's not like a fixed thing that I released in 2021 or something. I put it together in 2021, but I intentionally made it this website that I can add new songs to over time. So I wanted it to be this fluid thing that, maybe in the future I go into a recording studio with Desert Magic, and record 10 of these songs and, do a new album of Dao songs that
like
are...
write new compositions or re-realize some of the compositions here.
Or do new arrangements of some of the compositions that are already there. I don't necessarily see the 81daosongs.com. I don't see all of those recordings as like super final recordings.
Yeah.
But I wanted to kind of have a website that showed the evolution of some of these songs.
Did you make this website?
I made it. I didn't make it myself. It was this artist who... I'm trying to remember her name. Let me see. Emma Ray. Yeah. She was really fun to work with. She made it from scratch, but she gave me the code, so I update it. I update the code myself. I mean, I can kind of work around HTML, and so whenever I want to make any changes or updates, I just do it myself with her code.
It's a really beautiful website. Like I
Yeah,
love
it is.
the way the notation is displayed is like, because this is it's always a struggle for me to how to display images like this, really, like notation clearly, and it looks so great on here. It's like
It really does.
Yeah.
I mean, looking at like the ancient masters, once you get down to where you just have like the little snippets of the chords with the text, it's really it's beautiful. It's beautiful to look at, and the way it unfolds visually is amazing.
How just curious, what are you using for your notation software?
I use Sibelius.
Okay.
Yeah, I use Sibelius. I do a lot of workarounds with Sibelius to get some of that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially to get like separate measures with space in between. You have to get kind of tricky with Sibelius sometimes, but it's possible.
Is that what you guys use as well?
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
I got a few years ago, I had to get a new computer, and I like went ahead and got like, before they made it subscription, I got Sibelius Ultimate, like kind of like, and that's proved to be like pretty solid, you know?
Yeah.
Apparently now, like, even though I've bought it without a subscription, I now have to pay for support again for any updates, but you know, that's a whole another podcast. But I like Sibelius for notation. I've like made all my little key command shortcuts and everything, and I feel like I can bust things out pretty quickly at this point. And anytime I try to switch platforms, I feel like
It's hard.
it's insane. Like going to Muse Score or Finale or something. It's not very fun.
Yeah.
Do you ever write things by hand?
Not too much, because Sibelius has become. I've just become so much more fluent with Sibelius, because I had this job in LA where I was a music arranger for 3 years, and it was just like Sibelius every day for 3 years.
Yeah.
That'll do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I teach a middle school jazz band that I ended up just, because the levels are all over the place, so I just end up writing most of the arrangements. So it's the same kind of thing.
Oh, really?
Just like really quickly, just here you go. Here's your part.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I have done some like transcriptions by hand when I've been doing some field recording projects where I'm outside, and sometimes I try and notate like a bird call or something. And that's I've done that by hand. But any sort of thing that I give to another musician, I usually just do it in Sibelius.
Well, yeah, and I mean, for ideas out when you're out and about, you know, that like it's nice to have little notebooks that have some staff paper.
That's true. Yeah, absolutely.
But
right, for yourself, like to kind of to remember your ideas. Yeah, absolutely.
but I feel like voice notes has become that for myself and many others. You know, just singing into the phone all the time. So, you're transcribing bird calls?
Is this mapping sonic future stuff?
Yeah. That's another project of mine that I started in Santa Cruz.
You have so many projects. Like,
I know it's pretty incredible,
and they're all very different, kind of.
Yeah.
I know, sometimes it feels like there's just too many to keep track of for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, mapping
But
Sonic
sorry, yes,
Future.
continue.
Go ahead.
No, I mean you were describing mapping Sonic futures, futurities. Excuse me.
Futurities, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that started as a collaboration with the Natural Reserve Manager at UCSC, Alex Jones. We met on Zoom during the pandemic, and he was like, "Hey, there's this grant that we should apply for," and we spontaneously just kind of whipped up a proposal for like an art science collaboration between us, and it involved a series of what we called sound vigils, where we camp out on campus and do a kind of documentation art video of a particular location, a particular natural space on campus. And UCSC campus is one of the most incredibly, ecologically rich campuses I've ever been on. There's like there's redwoods. You're basically in the redwood forest.
Right there.
Yeah. And so UCSC has this what's called a long range development plan, where they have a 20-year plan to build on certain sections of the campus that are natural spaces. So we went to those sections where they're planning on building a road, and we kind of that was the proposal, and we got the grant, and we did it, and we developed a whole website, and it's called mappingsonicfuturities.com. I have websites for all the projects.
Yeah.
All my projects. And this website, my friend Stephanie Smith did. Stephanie Chang Smith. And she's a fantastic experimental composer as well, who I went to CalArts with. But she's also a coder and web developer, so she made this website that where we post the GPS location of each of these sound vigils and the video piece that came out of it, and then all these field notes that I took when I was out in the field. And the idea of it is it's a sound vigil that lasts for 24 hours. So I'm in one of these spaces for 24 hours, and it's like my only job is just to listen and interact with the soundscape and record it and sort of journal. And so that's the idea. And
the idea is that these spaces will no longer be natural spaces in the future,
or they will be, or the natural spaces will be modified through the building of a road. So
right.
They won't necessarily be entirely destroyed, but they will be affected by the construction of a building or a road. Yeah.
So, and when you look at this website, the green outline, is that all of the campus?
Yeah. The highlighted section?
Yeah,
That's the
there's like different
campus.
There's like yellow, light green, and darker green. I just don't know what all the differences are there.
Oh, what the different colors are? Okay, so if you scroll down.
Oh yeah, there's the legend right there. The Campus Natural Reserve is that lighter green.
Right.
And what is the red? A historic district. Oh, okay. Well, that's helpful.
Yeah.
There you have it.
There I go. It's right there.
Yep. So there's a legend that kind of
So you've done 5 of these so far? Is that you did all 5, or did anyone else do it?
I did 4 of them, and one of them, our collaborator Tiffany Thieden did. She was an evolutionary biologist, and that was really exciting to have someone else do it, because part of the idea is for other people to do it, not just me.
Right.
And so she did it, and she had her own. I mean, she is super knowledgeable of all the critters that live in Upper Campus where she did it.
Which one did she do?
She did the Hall of the Hermit Thrush.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, she did these incredible illustrations, and she wrote poems in her field notes, and yeah, so she did one of them. And then for Newt's niche, I was a teaching assistant for a field recording class for Michelle Liu, who's she was my main sort of advisor, mentor at UCSC. She now teaches at UC San Diego. But she was teaching this class, and I was teaching assistant, and she put this project in the curriculum of the class, which was so fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I got to take the students to one of these places, and we did a vigil together.
Oh, wow.
And so that's what Newt's niche is.
So with all the students?
Yeah, with
for the full 24 hours?
I let the students have a flexibility to kind of not do the 24 hours. So I think 2 of the students did 12 hours. That was the most. And then 6 or 7 of them did probably like a good 8 or 9 hour chunk.
Yeah.
So it was
24 hours is a long time to do one thing.
Yeah, I didn't want to like make the students obligated to. I didn't want to make that a requirement. But I think even just 12 hours is being in one place for 12 hours. That's a lot. That's a lot to ask for a student. So I was really happy with it, how it turned out.
You know, before I had ever done Song a Day, I was doing these 24-hour like songwriting marathon things that were.
Oh yeah, those were crazy. I forgot about those.
I forget what the thing is called. It's a gaming thing that I kind of appropriated for
recording, right?
For recording,
really.
Because my coworkers were doing it at my company, and they were like, in the office, everyone's going to come and we're all going to play video games for 24 hours. And it's like a charity drive, basically. It's like you're raising money for charities. And so I was like, I'll do it. But I'm not going to play video games. I'm going to do my thing. So but yeah, it's really,
and it was all streaming. I would like check in on Bob at like 3 a.m.
Oh my gosh, really?
He's just there with the guitar, just like, I'm still going, man.
They're all streaming on Twitch because it's video games. So I was streaming it all on Twitch. But
whoa. Did you have like a particular set? Was it like song an hour for a day?
No, it was. I mean, I was just kind of going for it. I didn't know what my output was going to be like. I think the first one, it's hard to remember because I did it like 4 times.
Oh my gosh!
It was. The first one was really fun, but after that, like that particular crew of people that were doing that marathon like had left the company, and then like the last like basically 3 times I did it, like there was like nobody participating with me, and it just made it really hard. When you get tired, man, it's so hard to like to continue.
Wow.
Did you stay awake for your vigil?
Yeah, that's the question.
Yeah, like at night. I
Yeah.
did sleep, but I didn't sleep much.
Oh, okay.
Because you get a kind of adrenaline when you're on these vigils. At least I had this adrenaline where I was kind of not quite entirely asleep. So I
Interesting.
was kind of waking up pretty frequently at night, and then when I was awake, then I would, record or take a picture. And so part of the idea was I was recording and taking visual, either a video or a picture. And at night, I mostly took the pictures because doing a video at night wasn't that. My camera can't really do night videos.
Yeah.
But so I was kind of waking up sporadically and taking pictures. Yeah.
Interesting. And so,
Yeah.
are you going to do more of these?
Yeah, I'd like to do. I think I could do a few more on campus. There's definitely more spaces that are going to get developed, so I could potentially do more on campus. It would be really fun to take this whole project and do an entirely different space.
Yeah.
Maybe a park or maybe a state park or something. Or
Yeah, there's really fantastic residency programs all over at state parks, and I've always wanted to find something to do. Especially, I love canyon country, and something like this would be a really cool way to do that. But yeah, I mean, even not terribly far. I think Joshua Tree and Death Valley have artists in residencies
Death
like
Valley
that would work.
be a rough one
what's the rough
you-
one?
for 24 hours in Death Valley.
Oh, that would be.
Well, yeah, you got to probably just go right in February or March or something, but
Yeah.
it could be gnarly.
It gets really cold and it gets really hot there. Yeah. It's not impossible. It's just be hard. One of the more difficult locations in the world.
Absolutely.
Well, Alex is up for a challenge, so
I'm out. That sounds like a good story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen those residencies too. The national parks have those extended residencies. Yeah, I would like to apply for that at some point with this project and see where it goes.
yeah, I think that'd be super cool. I'm just so I can't reiterate, everyone who's listening, you have to go look at the websites that we're talking about, because the
Yeah.
people that you've collaborated with to make these, they're all beautiful. They're incredible websites.
Thank you.
And then you check out a little bit of Luke Williams owns what he's got going on, and I want to check out everyone else that you've been working with in terms of the actual development aspect of it.
Yeah.
It's really cool. What has led you to make that kind of an integral part of what you do? It seems like more than anyone else that I've interacted with, for having each project to have a really nice, beautiful, well presented website of its own. That's not common practice, I don't think, unless maybe you have a different experience. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so, because a lot of the projects and the musical ideas behind the projects, some of them don't really fit well into platforms that musicians typically work with, like Bandcamp or Spotify or something.
Yeah.
Like trying to put mapping sonic futurities on Spotify would make no sense.
No, none
Because-
whatsoever. I mean, that all of the information would be missing unless you just have a billion links that you need people to chase around per anything. But
Yeah.
it doesn't seem like that could work at all, actually.
Yeah, so there's there's the audio visual element. There, a lot of the stuff like Dance of the Planets has this interactive kind of visual component that
Right.
it kind of is asking to be its own thing. It's wanting a sort of website that can kind of give it that dimension. Same with the 81 DAO songs. It's like if I put that on Spotify, that is gonna be a fixed album. Because when you release something on Spotify, you're releasing a fixed album released on a certain date. And I kind of want to get out of that mentality with this particular. Sometimes I do like releasing things and be like, all right, I'm done with that. Release, move on. But with the 81 DAO songs, I want that. I don't want to kind of have that logic to that project. So the website makes sense because I can change it whenever I want. You know?
Yeah.
I guess that's another important thing to consider is what did we say up front? How many songs have you recorded and put into the world at this point?
Oh my gosh, I don't even know. I mean, on Song a Day, yeah, it's probably over 600.
So you have had cause to think about the way in which you present your releases at this point, right? Like there are some that are just like, I'm going to do this as a conventional, that's important to think about. But like you do have a lot of projects and you have created a lot of music, so I guess to have that much that you've created, like eventually you're going to think about how am I presenting this, especially given the resources that I have and like the people I can collaborate with,
Yeah, but I do love it when musicians have just all their music on Bandcamp and it's in one location. Sometimes I wish all my different projects were in a place that people could access. I don't know. That was a little more centralized. Maybe I need to just make my own website better, because my website right now is just a free Tumblr page. So
yeah.
it's just a Tumblr blog.
Right on.
Yeah, in your Bandcamp.
You also have this. You have it. Yeah. I think
you have a fair amount of releases on Bandcamp.
the thing that is interesting. Yeah, like you have an Alex Wand page where you can go to everything else, but not everything else connects back to your Alex Wand, the page.
Yeah. That's a cool observation. I kind of like, there's certain things I like to emphasize the kind of collaborative aspect of, or, if it's a release by Desert Magic.
Right, yeah.
Or if it's, map. I mean, a lot of the projects are highly collaborative, where it's not just me.
Right. Yeah.
So I ask this of a lot of people. I feel like now that we've talked about a fair amount of things that you've done, and especially with Sad Fam, how do you personally approach time management during project time and making sure that you still have like an active creative life where you can feel fulfilled and still do whatever it is that you need to do? Can you just give people a little bit of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, time management. So during Song a Day or just generally?
Well, generally, I mean, of course, Song a Day might have influenced how you feel about this in general. But maybe you can do like a broad one and then maybe a brief specific one for those who would like to have a successful run for SatFam.
Sure. So definitely having a creative time that is the same time every day has worked for me, and that time for me is the morning. So when I wake up, the first thing I'll do is play music, and I'll get an idea. This is during Song a Day, right? So the first thing I'll do is just play music, just whatever comes up, play guitar, record it, until I have some kernel of an idea. And then I'll go about my day, I have a little meditation morning ritual, and then breakfast, and then go about my day, and then come back to that idea later in the evening or afternoon. That's having a little space between the sort of idea and then the finishing of it is nice, because then you kind of subconsciously work through that throughout the day. So that is a really great time management thing, because sometimes usually in the morning the ideas just come and then boom, it's there, and then I just move on. So sometimes it doesn't take that much time. And so just finding that, getting into the sync of that, and like finding out when that time is for someone, because for someone else it's at night or after lunch or after you go running or something,
Yeah.
So yeah, having that kind of, I love having regimented days where I give myself like a full-on schedule of these are the activities I'm doing, because a lot of what doctorate work, it's very self-guided. It's like it's self-directed. So I have to come up with my own schedule if I want to get things done.
Yeah.
Right. So I like having. I don't really do this much lately, but I have had times in my life where I would write out each hour of the day, and I would be like, okay, I'm doing this from 8 to 10, and then from 10 to 12 I'm doing this, and then from 10, so I would have it all planned out, but I would make the plan in the morning.
Yeah.
So there'd be some flexibility, but I would kind of set it in the morning.
I've done that too, and then the problem is really being diligent about sticking to it. Even if it's something as simple as laundry. Like, did I get that done by like 9:30? Like I wrote down or something? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even if it's creative or banal or whatever, like it, for me, sometimes just sticking to my prescribed agenda has been difficult.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah. I think it's definitely difficult. Like, I think it gets easier the more repetition, the more you do it, the more habitual it becomes. So there's certain sort of anchor points in the day where, like I was talking about the morning for music, the afternoon or like early afternoon or noon time was my, especially lately, has been exercise. So that's like the way to sort of break up the day with moving my body and breaking a sweat. And that really finding time to do that. Yeah, that exercise and meditation so it's just a funny thing how that works, because you think like, oh no, I'm spending time doing this stuff that's not productive, right? Meditating and exercise or whatever. But somehow when you like like Song a Day April 2020, I was meditating for 2 hours a day and exercising, swimming in the ocean every day.
Wow.
And I was also the most excited. I was super excited about the music I was making that month. And somehow I found the time to do all of it. And
Yeah.
on paper, it doesn't really make sense how that worked out.
I mean, I agree, especially with okay, when you have that voice that's just like, well, what am I doing? Like, why am I spending my time doing this when it has to do with exercise or something like that? Until you take it away and you realize how important it was, you know? Like for me, exercising is usually a hike, because I live near the redwoods and I have this dog, and you know, it's like it's perfect. But when you get really in a habit of that and then that goes away, you just I feel instantly like a mental difference, you know. And if like you get like sluggish and kind of bummed out or whatever, like, you know, being creative probably isn't going to be your jam.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, it's super hard.
Becomes extra hard when you have a kid to balance everything.
Yeah.
Do you guys have kids?
I do.
Bob has one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. I don't know how you guys do Song a Day with having kids. You and Steve. Steve has a kid now too.
Yeah.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, Steve had one very close timeline with you. And Steve's back down in LA now. I assume we mean Blum, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I because my wife also did it's funny because she did she did it in a way, like she wanted it to do her own way, which meant not using the Song a Day for a Month website and using like Instagram instead. And like her challenge for herself was just learning a song to play it.
Cool.
Like once a day.
That's great though. That's an awesome practice, you know?
Yeah. So we were both doing it, and we joked. Our joke for the month was that it's called Sad Fam because it makes your family sad.
Fair enough. Yeah. I mean, anyway, man, Crystal and I were both doing it. It got it gets hectic.
Yeah.
It gets hectic.
But it's honestly, it's like, oh man, it feels so good to have done it. Like, and honestly, like this past month or the July month, it's like what I came out with at the end of the month was like, I was just so happy with it. It's like,
it's an amazing record, man. It's crazy.
I was blown away by your music last month. Yeah, it was so thoroughly composed and just full sounding, and such cool vocal
I was very
harmonies.
ambitious with the production, overly ambitious, and I spent more time probably a day than I should have.
Well, yeah, but it sounds fantastic. Have you is that on Bandcamp?
Yeah, I put it on Bandcamp.
Oh, great.
I'll text it to you. I called it The Odd because it's kind of like I did like a narrative story. Like each day I was trying to pick up the thread of the plot that I was kind of working with.
Okay. Yeah. And the images, you had all this beautiful visual artwork that went with each song, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, I was just, for that, I mean, I just cause that's a new feature, right? Having the images on there.
Yeah.
So I was just like, oh, it was like not there before the last time I did it.
Yeah.
Sad Fam. So I was just like, oh, I'll make use of this. But all I was doing was just grabbing some of the text of the lyrics and throwing it into one of these text to image AI generators.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Very
It's kind of
cool.
Yeah.
That makes total sense.
It's kind of hard to get those things to work in a way that's like the way that you want them to do. Like if you have an idea for something, it's hard to get it to work.
Wait, you mean the AI art generator, or like
Yeah, 'cause if
catching
you're
the
like-
thread of your prior song?
No, like the AI art generator. Like if you put in like if you put in like a short excerpt of my lyrics, right? It'll be like something like
Frogs die peacefully in their sleep.
yeah, whatever it was, and then it would come up with something, and you'd be like, that's like, it's like not quite the vibe. It's like not at all the vibe that I was looking for. So I would like modify the text in some ways to like try to get it to put out like more of the idea of what the text is.
Yeah.
You know?
Got it. Oh wow, that's really fun to think about, like how relationship of text and the visual. Yeah, the AI thing is. Yeah, I was hanging with my brothers who are very into the AI world, and I was kind of watching them, and they were. Yeah, I forget the program, but they were like, write a zombie blues song or something. And the AI would be like, boom, got verse, chorus, verse of the zombie blues. They just generated the lyrics from a prompt, right?
That's different from like a random lyric generation site, right? Because I mean, I feel like
well, it's just a more advanced version of that same idea, I guess. It's like if you're just pulling from, so it's pulling from a bunch of text that exists, right? Like if you're talking about text, it's pulling from text that exists that humans have written, and using that as a model to generate new text.
Right, but it's not using like conditionals. It's doing something that I don't understand, right? Like, because I understand how to do something like if then a bunch until it creates something, but like in order for, can you guys explain AI to me real quick? Sorry, man. Never mind. Maybe we shouldn't get into exactly how that works. I should look it up. But
Robert would know more than me.
It's just having access to large quantities of data. You can make probabilistic predictions about what could happen. Like if you're thinking about it with text, right? If you say like, I am going to the, like, what's a possible next word for that? Based on like, all of like, and you can train AI on things. So it's like, if you're looking at the Bible, what's the next word? Mountain, temple, it's like, or if you're looking at just like Newsweek, it could be like store, or I don't know, like so it's just making a prediction based on what it sees. So like it wouldn't there's also like the language models are I don't know exactly how the language models work, but you can have them refer to like just like for example, there's like you can have like a slider on a interface that's like make it more reasonable or less reasonable, right? And for like human language, so it's like it's making a calculation just based on what it knows about the English language or something like this,
right?
And more reasonable is like probably pulling from sources more, and less reasonable is probably more or actual random calculation.
Got it.
Cool.
Yeah, I hope I did that. Because I also am not I'm not a software programmer, so I don't really know the details of all of it, but that's how I understand it, at least.
I see.
Have you ever used AI in terms of helping you create music at all?
I have. I use it for lyrics all the time, just because
Cool.
like when I'm writing lyrics, I like to sit in front of the computer with like an AI predictive text model, a thesaurus, and a rhyming dictionary.
Wow.
Like those are like the 3 websites I have open. And sometimes etymology.
Wow, I love that.
But you'll still start with the source idea that you want to explore, and then like use these. The thesaurus and the rhyming dictionary makes sense, but like
yeah, because like sometimes, so okay, if you've got like, you come up with like a line, right? And you're like, okay, I got to write a stanza. Maybe just throw that in the predictive text model, look at what comes up in the rhymes, like just see what's there. And then you'll be like, sometimes it'll be like, sometimes all that stuff's just junk and it's better to just think about it, right? Like come up with an idea yourself, or like, but sometimes it helps me to like consider like the idea that I thought of is a little bit quaint or trite rather, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a way to make, like a cell of an idea a bit more robust if you need it to be. And that's very, very cool. Cause oftentimes I'll write extremely short songs word wise, like where, just because it's like, okay, this is apparently what I had to say with words at this point. And the rest of this is going to be the music. Mm-hmm. And usually I'm super cool with that, but I haven't tried really seeing through like writing a song that has like a lot more words or longer stanzas,
It's something I wonder maybe what you think about this, Alex. Like I'm doing a gig this Saturday. I'm like, and some of the songs I'm doing are like some like Gordon Lightfoot songs and maybe some Leonard Cohen stuff, and it's like,
nice.
These people were on a level of lyric writing that few people have even approached. I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like you look at a song and it's got 20 verses or something. And they're like perfect. It's like perfectly cohesive. Every single word is interesting. There's no throwaway text.
Right. Oh yeah. Leonard Cohen.
Woody could be like that though, too, right? And would you agree with that?
Woody Guthrie?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Because he's like.
Does he have long songs like that?
Yeah, he has. I mean, he's in the
like
folk tradition. He has long verse songs, like many verses that, like which is one. Pastures of Plenty's. There's a good amount of verses in that song. Yeah, that's the folk tradition to have, the verses where the storytelling happens. So
yeah.
The melody repeats over and over, and then the lyrics are kind of pushing the music forward. And the lyrics are really, it's all about the lyrics in the folk tradition.
Have you ever written like this?
Yeah. I've written storytelling, especially in the group that I played in 3/3. That was kind of like a chamber music folk group that so we did the Woody Guthrie EP. We did a bunch of Woody Guthrie arrangements, but then we also did this album of originals called Oh 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 Oh.
Wait, so hold on. How can I find this group? Are you on Bandcamp?
We're on Bandcamp. And okay, our website is another website. Are you ready for another website?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's 3thirdsband.com. But
Written out, I assume,
yeah,
like as in words.
yeah, THREE
Oh, okay.
THIRDS. And yeah, we have a Bandcamp and everything. And I wrote some very wordy kind of storytelling songs on the OOO album. One of them was about D.B. Cooper.
Go
Oh,
ahead.
Viracocha with Perhapsy. Is Viracocha a thing?
Viracocha, yeah, I think that venue closed.
Yeah, I missed that. Oh, and there's like Berkeley Arts Festival with Mo Staiano. There's a chance I was on that.
Really?
Yeah. And Anna Ash.
Oh,
yeah.
Anna Ash? Yeah, I know Anna Ash. We went to college together.
Which college?
University of Michigan.
Oh, so do you know Derek from there?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes way more sense because I keep seeing you with all this. Perhaps like Derek's a really good friend of mine.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So anyway. You were talking about the song that you had written for the oh. That was more in the storytelling.
Right. So, D.B. Cooper, track 5, is this kind of storytelling song about the only successful U.S. plane hijacking
Oh yeah.
that happened in the early 70s.
Yes.
And D.B. Cooper, yeah, have you all heard of D.B. Cooper?
Yes,
Yeah.
I have heard this one.
Absolutely.
He's kind of a legend. So I wrote this song kind of chronicling that whole story in a Woody Guthrie style, in a kind of like, Bob Dylan, Woody Guthrie style.
Cool. Do you still play with this band?
No, we all live in different cities now, so we haven't played in years.
Wow.
But it was a fun group. I still play with Heather Lockie, because she lives in LA and I go back to LA pretty often.
Oh, right on.
Is LA well, do you have any plans or machinations for after you are finished with your DMA? Or are you not going to say or choose yet?
I don't. Oh, like what I'm gonna do after I graduate?
Yeah.
I don't really know. It's a pretty open book, actually.
Cool.
I do. Most of my music community is in LA, and I find myself going back to LA quite often, and liking any excuse to come to LA to, play music and see friends. But I like being in Santa Cruz, and I'm kind of open to where things take me too. So
Excellent.
yeah, it's an open book right now. I have 2 more years in the program.
Oh wow. Okay. So you have some time yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the cool thing is like LA's, it's right there. You can. I'm gonna start going down more often for my own stuff. A lot of my friends from up here moved down there, or to Bakersfield. And
Yeah.
so I decided to just start going down.
That's
Take some
cool.
time, a few times a year, and just go present some music and play with friends.
That's a cool kind of approach to it too. To live not too far away, where you can kind of go down there and play some shows, but then you're not having to be in the city. Yeah, because LA, like I when I was living in LA, by the end I was like, oh, okay, I need to move somewhere else.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Great transition. When did Carlos in LA, the podcast? When did you do that one?
Oh yeah.
That was so I sold my car in 2016, and
Okay,
I think
so
that's when I started. That's when the Carlos in LA idea began.
but you haven't done a episode of that in a while, I guess.
I haven't done an episode of that in a while. I do have several mini episodes that I haven't released that I was thinking of releasing.
Oh, cool.
And then I do have one. So I have a few episodes ideas that I haven't finished, but I might put together and do some more releases.
I love it. I think it's a great. It's such a it really, you really take the audience on your journey.
Yeah, it's amazing. There's a
you.
lot of joy and adventure in it.
Yeah.
Throughout. It's cool. I mean, I've listened. Yeah, I mean, your journey from Seattle back down to LA, that whole thing, and just like, you know, you talk about Point Reyes and like other little spots that you know if you're around here, and or you know it, and then like just meeting people and becoming really close friends with them, just because you happen to be road warriors together, like randomly, you know.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. And the cool thing too is like you have like a completely unique way of involving song in the podcast form, you know? It's not at all a soundtrack. It's just part of who you are, you know? You're just like, and then I'm going to express the same thing through song. And each of the songs are different in terms of like, you know, style and production and all that. It's really fascinating, and it's really heartwarming and amazing and extremely highly recommended, you know?
Wow, thank you both. That means a lot. It's so great to hear that. Yeah. That podcast is getting listened to.
I've recommended it to a few people who all of them really were like, wow, this is an awesome podcast.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay,
it's special, man. It's special.
That inspires me to make another episode. All right, thank you guys for that inspiration.
Yeah.
Do you remain Carlos?
Yes, I am.
Wow.
I'm Carlos in Santa Cruz.
Woo! Season 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
Awesome,
I've
man.
been Carlos ever since.
Ever since you sold your car in 2016?
Yeah.
That's
That
pretty
dude Marco
impressive.
still has it.
Yeah.
I had wondered if it's like I wonder if he stopped releasing episodes because he got a car. Like that was
He just has like a sick Ferrari.
My last episode is like, oh yeah, actually having a car is great, guys.
yeah.
Oh man. No, it's really inspiring. Everything. Yeah. I mean, you have so many projects, and hearing you too, especially, I've always been, you know, Bob, I love what you do on SadFam, especially this last one. That was really incredible. If y'all haven't listened to, do it. The Odd on the DDB, but like, you know, Alex, like seeing what people do with SadFam, listening to that, and then just seeing all these other projects and like how thoughtful everything in it, you know, everything that you do is, and seeing your artistic process and getting to talk to you about it is amazing, you know. And I really appreciate
SadFam. I think is a really actually very important thing.
Yeah.
If I was teaching a composition class at like a college, I would force my students to do SadFam.
Oh, really?
Just because it's like, it's such a great exercise. You learn so much about yourself. You learn what you're capable of. And you learn that some things like are like some things that maybe appear to be like tremendous hills. They're like, you can just like, if you can go up them and then they're not that big or whatever, you know. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like, cause it's very daunting. The idea of it is very daunting and very intimidating, but you can do, like, everyone can do it. Everyone should do it. I think it's like, it's you know, the bar, you set the bar for yourself, and and it's always rewarding, I think.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
That's
Oh,
cool.
that's so cool that you had your students do it.
No, I mean, I'm saying that was a hypothetical. I'm not a composition teacher.
Oh, hypothetical. Yeah.
Like
So
Yeah.
it's funny you say that. I taught a songwriting class. I taught 2 songwriting classes, one in the spring and in the summer, at UCSC.
Mm-hmm.
And I made a platform, just a private platform. It's carbon copy of Song a Day, but just for the class.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it was like this little mini Song a Day within the class,
Nice.
Oh man.
which was so fun, and I think the students really liked it because their assignments, their homework was, they weren't turning it in to me. They were turning it in and sharing it with everyone. So everyone was giving comments to each other, and so it was like this. It felt like less of like a academic class and more like, all right. It felt more like Song a Day, in that we're like all kind of sharing what we're doing this week with each other and giving each other feedback. And yeah, what I would do is I would do a lecture on a particular element of music, like melody or harmony or lyrics, and then give them a prompt, and then they would do their song and post it onto this website.
Yeah.
That sounds like an amazing class.
Yeah, it does. Sounds like I love stuff like that. It's like
Yeah. I'm about to start
go
a
take your
class
class.
tomorrow for high schoolers. It's an elective, but it's just like jazz composition and arranging.
just
And I
composition.
have like
Fantastic.
full creative control, and I'm like super excited because I know some of the kids who are going to be in it, and they're just amazing, like musicians and people. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm really trying to open people up to tools that are available so you can make like this kind of thing. You can make the creative process in composing in particular just part of your, a practice,
Absolutely.
but because especially in high school, I think I was like really mystified by the idea of writing something, and so I think it'd be really cool to hear from an early age that like, no, this is a practice, and these are the tools that you have available to you.
Yeah.
Sort of demystify it and just like get them doing it, so I'm super stoked about that.
That is so cool. That sounds like a really fun class. That's in Bakersfield?
No, I'm in Oakland.
Oh, you're in Oakland. Okay.
I'm in
Yeah.
Bakersfield. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah, man.
I realized we haven't really been playing like samples of your work except for that one Tao song. This, but maybe we should go back and like insert we could go back. I'm looking at DB Cooper right now. We should have maybe played that, we could go back and put some of these songs that we talked about but we didn't play.
Sure. Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, and maybe some stuff from little samples from the podcast as well, if that's cool with you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, please use whatever you want.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, is how are you feeling? Is there anything that you'd like to cover, like in terms of projects? I mean, you
There's
do
more.
have a lot going on, but
We're definitely not covering all of your work in this podcast.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Well, I guess the one thing that I'm going to be focusing on in this next month is another field recording project, which also has a website.
hey,
Surprise, surprise. It's called monarchwaystationsoundmap.com.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
And it's basically tracing the migratory corridors of the monarch butterfly, cycling through. So my friend Eric Myron is a cyclist and musician who also does Song a Day, CalArts friend. We're both going on this biking trip from Montana, Whitefish, Montana, to Santa Cruz, California. And
Oh, wow.
we're traveling through migratory corridors of the monarch butterfly at the same time that the monarchs migrate. So we're basically, cycling, and we're planting milkweed, which is a plant that's crucial for the monarch's survival, because it's the only plant that the caterpillars eat. So at each site we plant milkweed seed, we do a musical performance and record it and post it onto this site. And so it's kind of like, like in Carlos in LA, like my adventure from Seattle to LA.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like along those lines. It's like this bike tour, but the focus for this project is all about the monarch butterfly. And yeah, I've been really excited about going on this trip. I've been planning it, kind of reaching out to different people along the path to see who might want to collaborate with us, and different nature conservancies and schools, whoever is interested. We're hoping to do some informal performances and some concerts too. So
this is going to be in just only take a month for you.
Yeah, it'll probably take a month.
That's really
maybe
impressive.
Yeah. So you'll do this during summer, like during your break?
No, I'm actually gonna do it during school.
Yeah, you said you get a lot of flexibility when you're at this level, right?
Well, yeah. So, and I'm so lucky because I have to, work every quarter. We're either teaching a class, or we're a teaching assistant. So my teaching assistantship is online this quarter. So I have kind of a lot of flexibility, which is perfect. So I was like, all right, this is the time to do it. Because I can...
Wow, dude. Yeah.
I can be remote this quarter. So that's why... And it's the best time, because this is the time when the monarchs are migrating to their overwintering grounds. Right when the fall begins.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So I will be actively posting on this website starting in mid-September. So, yeah, feel free to, whoever's listening, would love for you to follow this project.
Yeah.
Well, we should try to release this podcast before you do that. So,
yeah,
that would be cool.
Yeah. I've been a little slow on the releasing lately.
Well, if it comes out later, then people will be able to see how the trip went, which is fine too.
Right, it'll still be there. Right?
Yeah. I feel like, I don't know. I don't know about y'all, but I feel like I got busy again for the first time in like 3 years. So, like that true busy feeling, it's kind of crazy. But anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll, all of these sites will definitely amplify.
Yeah, we'll try to
and
plug
make sure
all
that we
your
post
stuff.
about it. This is so cool. Man.
This is the same platform as the other website. The
it looks like the
mapping
sonic
futurities.
Futurities.
Thank you.
Yep, it's the same. Stephanie Chang Smith made both of the websites, and she basically adapted. So this one came first. The Monarch one came first.
Oh.
And she basically just adapted the Monarch one to the Mapping Sonic Futurities.
Yeah. Cool.
Excellent.
You got some great websites.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm lucky to work with a lot of awesome coders and web developers.
Yeah, it's inspiring all around. Musically, in terms of the code stuff too, I mean, it's really fun to look at, you know. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
Yeah. Cool. So, if we were to end this podcast with one piece of yours, what should we do? What piece?
Oh, wow. What piece?
What's your favorite song of yours?
What is the favorite song I've ever written?
No, but you know, I'm just kidding. But Bob's question.
Yeah.
It's a solid piece that you know. Ignore me.
Okay, let's see. Gosh. I kind of want to do one that I wrote last month. And yeah, maybe this can kind of... we didn't really talk about... I don't think we played any music from Santa Cruz Mountain Poems, which is the other...
Those are so cool.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. I did listen
Thank
to...
you.
I think I listened to all of those, but...
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a few of them that I was excited about that I wrote last month. And here, I'll put this in the chat. It's called The Dead. And it's from the Santa Cruz Mountain Poems. That might be a nice one to finish on. I performed it at the Song a Day concert with my friend Stuart Wheeler.
Awesome.
That's so sweet that Rob was one of the first to comment on that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Love
that's
that dude.
Rob?
Uncanny Sally, yeah, I think. That's Rob Ewing.
Okay, wait. I have a question.
Oh, go ahead.
Who is Visitation?
Visitation is our friend Steve Gregoropoulos. He's a friend of Heather Lockie, who is Marshweed on Song a Day.
Just for the record, this is the only person on Sad Fam that has written more songs than you.
Right. He did. Yeah, he has 700 or something?
Yeah.
He did an entire year where he wrote a song every day for a year on Song a Day.
Whoa.
That'll do it.
That'll do it, right?
Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
Pretty wild, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
He's a really cool guy. He's like been an active LA musician for years. He's a little older. He's probably like 50s or 60s, and he's just been around LA scene. He seems like he knows everyone in the LA music scene.
Oh, and y'all, I just gave out some disinformation, I believe. I think Uncanny Sally is not Rob Ewing.
It's not. It's Caleb.
Okay, because that's Rob's handle on Instagram. So I just thought it was him.
Oh, really?
My bad. Anyway.
Yeah.
Love you both. Rob and Caleb.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we'll play that song. We'll put it in. But yeah, thank you so much, Alex, for your time.
Thank you guys so much. What a treat to, get to talk about this with you all. And thanks so much for thinking of me for your podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an honor to have you on here. Thank you so much. And very inspiring to talk to you on many different levels. So I really appreciate your time and your thoughtfulness, and thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Robert and Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we'll be posting everything where you can be found, all of these websites that we've talked about, your band camps. Do you do much in the way of the socials, like Twitter or Insta?
I have an Instagram.
And what is that?
That is Rufus Dumont.
Ah, your infamous moniker.
Yep.
Very good. All right, cool. We're Twitter at tones_FOR. Insta is at FT4HB. And if you feel like you appreciate the conversations we're having and what we're doing here, you can go to Patreon, Fantastic Tones for Human Bones, and pitch $1 or $2. It means a lot to us. And we have a YouTube channel that is definitely worth checking out. And Bob Ledoux is also an excellent person to be checking out on YouTube as well. Is that like DDB, or what's your thing?
Well, on YouTube?
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
And whatever, I'll
This
post
is such an unexpected plug you're throwing in here.
Well, anyway, man, I'll post about it. But we do have a YouTube, and that's a newer thing, and it's fun to look at. So, anyway, thanks again, Alex. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Likewise. Thank you, guys.
The dead watch from damp rooms, heaving the rocks. I can see them at windows, silent they are. They stare at the grasses past sides of water. If I am the earth, now who is the water? Each one of my teeth says a different name. Yet I am the name, not